I gave you guys a quick teaser video a few weeks ago about sequencing the gear doors on the FMS Sabre. So let's take a look now that I have it all hooked up and see how it works.
Gear up. Gear down.
All right, let's take a look and see exactly how we're doing this. So as you can see here, I've added a servo, and the servo is connected to some bead wire, and I'll get into that here in a minute. The bead wire goes through some BVM air line. That BVM air line goes from here through the fuse and down into the wheel wells. The wire is then connected to the lever that pulls the gear doors. So if I flip the switch, it'll release the pressure on the gear doors, which will allow the gear doors to fall. And then we'll go through the sequence, and then I'll show the rest of that here in a minute.
Gear up.
So once the gear are up, the front gear door is sequenced through the transmitter in a sequencer. I'll show that as well. And then now you can see the servo here has moved up and released pressure from the lever that pulls the gear doors. And the wheels themselves, as before, work the levers and pull the gear doors up when they go up. All right, we're going to catch this sequence real quick. You're going to see the gear doors come up because it's releasing pressure from the servo, and the gear doors are still using the springs to push them open.
Gear up.
All right, now we're going to catch that in reverse with the gear doors opening and the retracts coming up.
Gear down.
Since the gear sequence for the Sabre is that they're in the up position, I had to go ahead and pull the battery so I can show you exactly what's happening with the door levers inside. So right now, as you can see, doors are up. So I'm going to go ahead and release pressure on the servo. If I release pressure on the servo and push it forward, the springs on the doors are going to open the doors. And as you can see here now, they're open. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and flip this over and show you guys how the wire is connected to the door levers. All right, so the gear are up, the doors are open, but that's only because I manually open them so I can show you this. So if we get in here closer, you can see down in the bottom of the wheel well is the end of the BVM air line, the little white circle there. And the bead wire is coming out of there. I have a kink in the line, so it goes up through a hole that I drilled in the door lever, and then the wire is run the length of the door lever, and it's glued to the door lever. It's proven to be fine. I've actually tried to kind of tug on that real hard, and the glue hasn't let go yet. So I think we'll be all right for kind of long-term usage here. But again, as you can see, when the servo pulls the wire, it pulls the door lever. When the door lever goes down with the servo, and then when the servo releases it, it's actually the springs that are opening the door there. It's just that there's no more tension on the wire. One thing to note, because we're including the nose gear door in the sequence in our transmitter, is that the nose gear door is this channel 5C plug right here. So 5C is unplugged from the sequencer that comes with the FMS, which is this right here. So you unplug, you can see right there in the middle, you unplug that channel 5C and you send that directly to the receiver. In my case, I'm sending it to this little SE6, which is a channel expander for my Jetty so I could get more channels. But you're going to send that to your receiver so that you can include that in the sequence in your transmitter. As mentioned, the BVM air line does go through the fuse. So right here it goes through the fuse and it goes into the wheel wells, as I showed earlier. But I just wanted to let you know that it does go through the intake as mentioned. So if we take a peek through here, hopefully we can see it. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. The wire is in the intake. It goes through. But since this intake, as you can see, is a sliver and there's cheater holes in the back of it, I don't think this is going to be much of an issue at all. I did run the fan, didn't notice anything. I watched the lines. They are glued on both ends, so there's no flex there, and we should be okay to go. Here are the two types of line I used to complete the sequence. As I mentioned, I used BVM airline, which is this right here. The reason I use the BVM airline is it's a lot stiffer than, say, Robart airline, and not as tacky, so I felt that the bead line would move through that better. And here is the bead line that I'm using. Again, it is a wire line. It has a plastic coating on the outside, kind of like pull cable if you're used to that, but it's a little bit finer. And here is the exact one that I'm using. It's the 0.61 millimeter size. Here is the sequencer that I have set up on my transmitter. If you look, you can see here that Q1 is the retract, Q2 is the nose door, and if I scroll down, Q3 is the servo that pulls the main doors. So let's go back up to the top here so you can see this. Right now the gear are in the up position, so when I drop the gear, you'll notice that the nose door opens first and then it runs through the sequence.
Gear down.
As it goes through the sequence, about 5 seconds in, you can see there the retracts drop. And then the last thing that happens in the sequence there at the end, you can see the nose door goes back up. Now in this sequence, the main doors are still pulled up by the wheels, so we're not doing anything at this point with that servo. If we go now, the gear are down. If we go back up, the sequence will go backwards. You'll notice
Gear up.
the door. Then about halfway through at the 5 second mark, the retracts go up. And then as we go all the way back to the end here, then we're going to pull there the nose door back up and complete the sequence. Since in the sequence we couldn't see the main doors moving with the nose door and the retracts, I paged down so we can see the main doors. Currently the retracts would be in the down position, so when I flipped a switch,
Gear up.
both servos, the nose door and the main doors open, relieving that pressure. At about the 5 second mark is when the retracts would actually be coming up. And then here at the end of the sequence, you can see the nose door closes, but the main gear doors don't do anything because the wheels themselves are pulling on those levers still and closing those doors. If we go back,
Gear down.
same thing, we're reversing the sequence. Gear are going down here at about the 5 second mark. And then at the end here, now is where we're going to pull the nose door and the main doors since the gear are down. All right, now that you've seen the full setup, let's take another look at a full sequence.